At Eagle Ridge, a girl clutched a gray cloth and begged it not be removed. A rancher set his hat down, stood between bullets and an old debt. No hero, no sermon, only a cold decision, the real price, and an object left on the fence. If you dare lift that fabric, stay until the last breath. I saw her sitting by the rim of an abandoned well. Both hands wound the gray cloth tight around her neck. The knot slanted left, flattened as if pressed many times. The well had long gone dry, the stone lip cracked, moss dead. Her eyes were wet. I stood under the horse tethering post, mail pouch slung off shoulder. In my mouth, a dry corn kernel, powder taste. Wind drove red dust into my eyes, no water. Only the old broken bucket hitting the well wall each time the wind shifted. She did not look at me, only into the bottomless mouth of the well. Her fingers brushed the cloth's edge, touched the frayed tassel, coarse fabric, ash gray. On the hem, a faint black smudge, like soot-stained hands. A man stepped from the trail, hat brim pulled low, back slightly hunched, like one long used to leading cattle. On his right forefinger, an old cut. Dark skin, dust, caked his arm like salt. I heard the spurs scrape, a small dry sound. The man stopped a few steps away. No question, no greeting, only pulled his glove off, stuffed it in his pocket. Shirt thick, worn, the third button missing. His saddle strap rubbed the post, squeaking steady. She spoke softly, flat voice. Don't take it off, not trembling, not begging, like a command to keep breath from shattering. The last syllable broke, dropped into the well, and died. I swallowed the kernel, it caught in my throat. The yard fell silent. A fly circled over her hand, vanished into his hat brim. He looked at the cloth, eyes narrowed. A look that measured the knot's tightness. He stepped half closer. Right hand lifted, hung in the air. The cut on his finger whitened from years of rope. No one spoke. The well's rim bore old carving. A name of someone long gone. I could not read it whole. Moss covered. A lizard poked its head, watched, slipped back. Storm wind came down from Eagle Ridge, carried the scent of hot metal. She held her head straight, elbows pressed to ribs. A stance, as if fearing even, quivered when she breathed in. Few traveled the trail past the well. Sun bared. Dust hung like flying ash. From afar, the old church bell rang once, then silent. No reply. Only stray weeds leaned back and forth against the brick wall. I looked at their shadows on the ground. His shadow, longer with the hat, hers small. Two shadows close enough their edges touched, near to joining. I saw his hand tremble, just once. Don't take it off, she repeated, this time lighter. The sound half swallowed by the cloth, the rest falling on stone, shattering. He looked up, met her eyes, first time. I saw his shoulders lower, not surrender, only breath out. Then he reached again, forefinger touched the fabric's edge. A touch, faint as dust. The cloth shifted half a grain. She did not flinch, only clutched her other hand tighter. Neck strained, cords showing sharp. My pouch slipped from my shoulder, thumped dull against my thigh. I picked it up, slow. No one turned. I stepped half closer, close enough to see the frayed gray threads, close enough to see the cloth near the knot, darker than the rest. Not clear if sweat or something else. No smell, only cold. His horse flicked its tail. The fly returned. Settled on the cloth for a beat, then flew. At the far side of the well, a button lay. Must have dropped from someone before, round, brown, scratched. I nudged it lightly. It rolled to the stone rim, stopped. "What's your name?" he asked, without lifting his eyes from the knot. The question lost in the stillness. She did not answer. A faint twitch at her mouth's corner showed she heard. He did not ask again. His hand traced along the cloth's line like a cattleman checking reins before the road. At the knot, he stopped, skin under the fabric dented at his touch. She drew a breath. Her breath snagged the cloth, made the faintest rustle. I heard it as if something alive moved beneath. The horizon wavered. Maybe heat. The sky dulled, as if seen through dirty glass. I saw on her collarbone a dim, dark mark, like the shadow of a rope once laid there, in the same place. The knot pressed over it, not coincidence. I did not ask. "Only to see," he said, not sure if to her or himself. The other hand rose, touched the tassel, tested a pull. Did not pull, only tested, like a man checking if a door is locked. The air carried a taste of copper. His chest rose, slow, stiffened. He slid his thumb into the gap between knot and skin. Her flesh tightened. A vein throbbed under the cloth. "Don't," she said the third time. The tone sank lower. Her left arm lifted halfway, then dropped. Did not push him back. Did not ask leave. Only one shift of rhythm. I remembered that rhythm. Remembered later still, another wind passed. A loose thread hooked the knot. The rustle lasted longer. I saw at the cloth's edge 3 strands spread like plucked feathers. On them a grain of dust shone. It gleamed, then died. Sunlight returned. He turned his wrist. The knot turned part way. I saw the flesh beneath throb, skin pale compared to what showed from being covered long. He let go at once as if it burned. She did not move. Her lips sealed tight. I heard her tongue snap free of the crack, a sound thin as paper tearing. The horse snorted. Spurs struck stone, rang sharp. A crow flew across. Its shadow swept the well's face. I looked after it, then back. They still stood, hardly breathing. Only the cloth moved, bit by bit, with each pulse in her throat. He spoke low. "If not undone, you will breathe harder." The words struck stone, bounced back. She stayed silent. I saw her eyes shift slow, from knot to his hand, then to his face. I counted 5 heartbeats through that gaze. The well's rim chilled. I leaned on the post, rough wood pressing through shirt. On the wood, a carved H, old. Someone had stood here before, leaning as I did, watching another hand reach for what another warned not to touch. The story repeated, with different faces. He drew one long breath, last one. His hand set full on the knot. Forefinger slid under, thumb on the hem. The motion of a man used to untying cargo rope, quick, clean, but I saw him falter half a beat, as if moving through dense air. The thread hissed faint. The knot stirred. Her eyes closed. Not fear, waiting. Neck drawn tight, blue veins raised like water veins under rock. I felt ground soften underfoot. Maybe only my knees gone weak. The kernel gone from my throat, yet the powder taste remained. "Don't," she whispered, near soundless. I could not tell if he heard, or heard and still moved. On his hand the old cut reddened from scraping the coarse cloth. A drop rose, round, held not flesh, not fabric, the sound of what had been hidden too long. He let go, not fast, just released force. His fingers stayed near. I saw sweat bead on his nose bridge. I saw her neck's color return slow. I saw the cloth lie as before, but not the same cloth as a second ago. I did not know why. I did not wish to. I only stood, cracked another kernel to fill my mouth. Dust settled. Sunlight leapt over the well's rim once more, and the man, rancher of this land, bent at last, touched the cloth's edge a second time. At that touch all turned wrong. I heard it through silence. That was all. I learned her name when I pulled letters from the pouch, murmured the blurred ink of those with no receiver. Mara J. The rest gone to sweat. She did not confirm, did not deny, only raised her collar a notch as if from sun, though the sun had passed its peak. Holt looked at me. A short look, meaning, "Don't ask." I nodded. I chewed the last kernel, its powder bitter again. At Mara's throat lay the frayed gray strip, wrapped twice. The hem brushed collarbone, crossed uneven skin. Her hand rested there, by reflex, exact spot, like a rider's hand on familiar reins. "From where?" Holt asked, eyes never leaving the horizon toward Eagle Ridge. Not a question for reply, only to weigh the breath of the one before him. "From the ground," she said, voice close to throat, dry. 2 words cracked out like sand. Holt spoke no more. He circled his reins, led the horse toward the empty barn. Boot heels carved grooves in the powder soil. I followed, mail pouch in arms, spurs grinding like old coins. Mara walked between us, her shadow short, her stride straight. At her throat, the gray strip did not stir, as if wind had left it behind. The barn was a 1-door frame, back to the wind. Inside, the smell of old hide mixed with moldy straw, the metal tang of broken horseshoes. Holt set a round tub as seat, shoved aside torn sacks. No gesture, no word to invite. Mara sat herself. I dipped water from the tub, clouded but cool. She held the cup in both hands, did not raise it yet, set it on her knee, watched the surface tremble from her faint shaking. Her eyes looked into her emptiness, striking back at the wind. A bat, lost, circled, then vanished into the roof's shadow. Holt handed me a bag of long nails and a hammer. "Window," he said. I understood. Seal the cracks. I nailed each one. Hammer blows on wood rang dry. Mara held the board steady, her other hand still on her throat. Each strike made her fingers tighten, not from fear of sound, from reflex of one used to heavier sounds. Holt checked the door latch again. He touched everything with his fingertips, like a cattleman testing rope before storm. His eyes cold, not vacant. Something was counting. I knew he was measuring distance, wind's angle, foot placement if he had to move in dark. Men like him always counted. When night thickened, footsteps came outside, light, even, stopped before the door. I held breath. Holt lifted his chin, not looking at me. The sign, "Do not move." A man's voice called, mixed with liquor. Holt. He knew the name. I recognized Deputy Crow's voice. Deputy Sheriff. Broken nose, clouded eyes, like one roused from poor sleep. "You keep no lamp tonight." Holt said nothing. Crow stayed outside. I heard his finger tap the frame 3 times. At last he spoke, tired, as if reading notice. Dark road. 3 strangers rode through town, looking for a woman. Asked at the well. He fell silent. Tapped once more, like a period. Then his voice dropped. "I don't see anyone here." Boots turned. Spurs scraped a long line in dirt. He left. Holt did not follow with eyes. After the steps were gone, he said, low, almost without sound, "Don't light the lamp." That was for me and for himself. Mara said nothing. I felt her exhale slow, as if letting go of some hidden knot deeper than the cloth. I spread stove ash along the window rim to dim any slit of light. Wet ash smell. Hands dirty. I wiped them on trousers. In dark, Mara's form blurred, known only by her straight seat, high neck, hands fixed. The cup of water still full. Its surface no longer shook. Holt laid a rifle on the table, pulled the bolt, ran a strip of cloth through. Not that cloth. Quick motions. His right forefinger, where the long cut was, bled fresh. He did not notice. A dark bead formed, vanished. I heard metal click in place. Smooth dust clung cool to knees. I heard every breath. "Holt," a voice called, not Crow. Dry tone, not of this land. "Give us one." Give us. No name first. A pause, then added, "Mara." The name dropped like stone into empty can. I saw Mara's shoulders stiffen a fraction. Holt tilted his head, fixing the voice's place, south corner of the door. "Where's the lamp?" Another voice laughed rough. "Your house dark as a mine." The word mine fell heavy, like a nail no one would pick. I looked at Mara, her eyes wide, not on me. She heard that word, like hearing a train far off, knowing it will come, unable to stop. Holt moved. 3 steps, no sound. He eased the latch, tested. Not opened, only tested. Then he took a rope from the post, looped it to the handle as snare. If pulled hard, it would bind the hand. I learned that at once, without lesson. Outside, one of the 3 spat. "Lady," he called, sweet in mock. "Come out. Don't make us break a good man's door." Good, a wide word. Inside the barn, no one better than another. Only those in and those out. "Window," Holt whispered. I crawled, flat to planks, slid my finger to the gap I had not sealed. Air outside, colder, smell of horsehide, of men's sweat. I pushed the board closed, set another nail, tapped with hammer's butt for silence. Each tap a heartbeat. Count. Holt mouthed to me, no sound. I nodded. I counted steps outside, counted horse stomps, counted the pour of liquor. 3 men, 3 rhythms. 1 quick, 2 slow. The quick one restless. The slow one's waiting. I stored it in mind like addresses on letters. Mara slid to the wall, back to post, her hands crossed to hold herself, as if for warmth, though no cold. Dust streaked her back, shaped like rope drawn across. I recalled her words that afternoon, from the ground. I did not look at her throat. I looked at her shoes. Woman's shoes, worn, sole tilted thin. "Only you and the errand boy in there," the third voice said, chuckling. He mistook. I did not correct. "Mara," he dragged the name, as one calling stray dog. "Come, it will hurt less." The word hurt did not rise. It dropped, touched the floor. Holt gave me the revolver, left hand. "Hold," he said very low. I had never held one, heavier than I thought. He placed my hand on the grip's notch, turned my wrist to angle, not teaching to fire, only teaching not to fire on myself. Hooves shifted. One shadow circled behind the barn, one before the door, one at the north corner. They split the ceiling. Maybe he was recounting as I was. The first shot cracked without warning, not at the door, at the sky. The sound slammed my chest as if struck. The horse shrieked. Dust from the rafters fell into my hair. I blinked. Holt did not. He stepped twice, placed himself between Mara and the door. "Out or I burn it," the quick voice said, eager after the shot. I heard cloth rub, the scrape of match on box. Holt's hand reached back, touched my shoulder. Brief touch, meaning, "Don't move." His other hand on the rifle's catch. There was a silence stretched like hide. No one spoke. Even outside, none. Only the wind pushing ash through cracks, leaves brushing tin roof. I heard Mara's heartbeat, not sure, maybe mine. Holt edged half a step, enough for his back to block sight of Mara's corner. "Out," the slow voice repeated, this time without threat. Tired. "We don't need you, Holt." That line tossed in like wet wood, not catching. "Only her." Holt looked into the dark where I knew Mara's face was. He did not ask, did not seek leave, did not promise. He only nodded, slight, like a man nodding to his own shadow on the wall. I saw him strip his glove, shove deep in his pocket, as that afternoon. The old cut on his finger bled again. He set his hat on the table. No man sets hat if he means to hand someone over. The one who hands keeps hat, to leave fast. He did not. He drew from under the table an empty bottle, smashed its base against the post, glass splintering little, sparing noise. He poured the last lamp oil into the neck, stuffed cloth, and set it at his feet, not to throw wild. Placed exact, to block if the door broke. "Back door," I whispered. Holt shook his head. The back was bad. It opened on the horse's north. He knew. He had counted. Outside, the match struck. Sulfur seeped in through the slit. A flame swayed. I looked at it, as at an animal's eye in dark. Holt's finger lay on the trigger. He exhaled. Not deep. Just enough to keep his hand still. "Last chance," the quick voice said. 3, 2, Holt fired. The shot cut the number. A scream at the door. Horse's cry. The flame fell, hissed out in damp earth. The other two voices faltered, then poured lead into the door. Wood splintered. Resin smell burst sharp. Mara did not cry out, "Down," not hard. "Stay," he said. One word, on breath, not voice. I stayed. Outside, the last man fired 3 times. Wild, afraid. Bullets carved 3 streaks of light through cracks, smashed the back wall, split an old board. Wood dust fell over me, my mouth filled with ash. I wanted to cough, I did not. Holt tilted his head, listening. He heard something I did not. Maybe hand on latch, maybe 3 steps back to charge. He pressed the trigger, did not fire. Waited. Outside, a heavy stomp. The handle pulled. Holt's rope snared the wrist, twisted it to the hinge. Bone snapped dry. A curse cut short. The man jerked, stuck. Holt fired the 3rd time. The scream stopped mid-curse. Then silence. Only horses gasping in powder fog. He did not run out. He stood still, listened longer, counted longer. When sure the wind had drawn smoke clear, he turned, looked at Mara. Did not ask if she was well. Did not say, "Done." He opened his mouth, but no words came. At last he only pointed down. Stay. For her, for me, for himself. That was when Holt chose. Not when he shot, not when he barred the door. But when he set his hat on the table, turned from the door, and left the woman at his back like part of the house. From avoiding to facing. No speech needed. Just a nod, a stance, a breath held in the dark. We left the barn while dust still hung under the roof. Holt first, Mara close, I behind, at distance enough to see their backs without leaving a 3rd trail. The path wound into the cut, narrow so 2 must turn shoulders to pass. Stone walls cold, rough. Dry moss wedged in cracks. No one spoke. Holt wound reins on his wrist, other hand at left shoulder. His shirt torn at the blade. Climbing a rock ledge waist high he slipped. Mara reached, caught him. His shoulder brushed her throat. A thin red line streaked the gray cloth. Quick. The color spread like ink on blotting paper, then stopped. She did not wipe, did not remove, only drew the cloth lower half a finger to hide it. Holt's hand left her shoulder 1 beat, then returned. I looked at the red mark. It did not flow. It stayed, a beat. Not hard, not firm, only touch. Rough fabric rasped, a grain of dust. His blood smeared deeper into the fiber. Cover became tether, without knot. Horse sounds came distant, then gone. The pursuers circled the rim above. Not seen, only guessed from falling stones. Holt counted with me. I did not look at his face. I looked at his boot prints. Left foot dragged slightly more than right after the grazing shot. Each print a note. Cut, joined, cut, We edged into a hollow deep enough for one body. Holt signaled halt. He leaned back to the stone, breathing light, head jerking with pulse at wound. Mara stood close enough her hair brushed dust on his shoulder. She lifted the small water cup from her pouch, but did not bring it to his mouth. He shook his head. She drank a tiny sip, just enough to drop one bead onto the cloth. That bead carried the red line down a fraction, changed from streak to stripe, thin as rain. I held breath, forehead to stone. Cold eased my eyes. From the hollow, the path out was a bottleneck. If anyone pressed, they'd be trapped. We had to cross before they arrived. Holt lifted his hand from his shoulder, nudged my back forward. I did not resist. I knew his meaning, a light body, running first, hearing what might break. We moved again. Dust-coated tongue tasted metal. The cut turned sharp. Cactus spines raked cloth. At Mara's throat, under the strip, the pulse steady. The red stain darkened, bound deeper into the thread. It became a sign, not hers, not his. Both, bound in blood. We cleared the bottleneck as stone clatter surged behind. No longer stray falls. Boots. A shadow dropped across my back from the rim, long as blade. Holt shoved my shoulder, pressed me left. "Run," he said. One word. I ran. Mara close, her breath on my neck, short, even. I did not turn. The pass mouth blocked by a stone slab, narrow enough to squeeze. I slipped through, pulled Mara's hand. She slid, her shirt scraping white on rock. The gray cloth snagged on a thorn, jerked, cinched her throat a beat. She yanked free, made no sound. The red streak split, branched like cut wings. I remembered that shape. Behind, Holt did not find. Cloth brushed my cheek as she leaned from falling stone. The scent of iron passed, not mine. Holt slid half a step, back to Rockspur. He reloaded. Smooth, no waste. I heard his cut hand slip damp, then brace with the flat of palm, steadying bolt. Another shadow appeared at the bend, low, gun out. He fired 2 rounds at the hollow we'd just left. Rock flashed white. I pressed flat. Stone fragments raked my hair. Holt did not fire back at once. He let the man step closer. 10 paces. 7. 5. He fired when the man shifted feet, weight unplaced. The shot split the stride. The man fell into the wall like wet straw. His gun skittered, stopped at Holt's boot. He did not pick it up. A curse sounded above, in another dialect. The third did not jump. He waited. I heard gravel trickle, someone crawling the rim. This one clever. Holt lifted his head a beat, sighted the ridge, gauged. He lowered the rifle, shifted position, left the spur of rock for another strip of shadow lower, enough to skew the man's aim. Dust thickened my mouth. I swallowed, throat raw. Mara stood like post. Her hand pressed the cloth, pushed the wet deeper into skin to keep it from slipping. Not to hide her throat. because now it held blood, heavy. If it fell, it would sound. I understood in my way. The man above risked it. He leapt. Body dropped through rim into cut. Back scraped wall, slid. He lifted his gun before landing. Holt shot once, clipped his arm, spun him. His gun fired wild, shattered a cactus limb to dust. He fell on knees, rose, charged. Holt stepped back, then stopped. He pulled trigger again. This shot did not miss. The sound crawled through rock, rebounded, fell. Dust slowed. No more breath outside hours 3. On the rim, a crow wheeled once, veered. Wind turned. I heard the pulse in my own throat. Holt did not move on at once. He stood, listened, counted. When certain, he turned, looked at us. No done. No go. He nodded once. I knew. Continue. We walked 70 steps more. I counted boot prints. The cut opened into a hollow the size of a yard. Stone wall, the knot. His hand, wet. The old cut stained brown on the gray thread. He pressed lightly, did not pull. A gesture like signing a paper no one wants to sign. I heard stones fall behind. Not large. Enough to know one remained. Or an animal. Did not matter. What mattered was the rhythm, shortened. Holt turned, quicker than I thought, for one losing blood. He raised the gun, covered half of Mara. She stepped back once, then stood, did not run. The shot came from left. Low, slicing air like a bee. I did not see the flash. Only sound. Holt turned his shoulder to take it by reflex, as if all his life he had been taught to shield another with himself. The bullet tore through the wet spot. Blood fanned in a fine spray. On the cloth, the red spread wide, ugly as a bloom. Holt's answering shot short. A metallic clang echoed farther off. Then still. Holt stood 1 second. Only one. Then his knees bent. He dropped. The hand on the cloth dragged with him, clutched a fistful, knuckles white. The knot shifted. The edge scraped Mara's neck, left a pale mark where the old dark mark had been. I heard her inhale deep, as if pulled under water. No water, only air. I meant to move. My legs did not. My body chose to stay. I saw Holt's eyes then. Not fear, not regret, not demand. Eyes of a man sending away a thing without form. I did not name it. It passed from his eyes to hers in the short space, then stayed. Did not fall. Mara bent, her hands not grasping. She touched his hand, clutching the cloth, and placed it where he could breathe easier. Did not loosen. Did not tighten. She left his grip, holding the edge like a button. That was enough for his chest to sink a fraction. Exhale. I heard it, like stone lifted from a stream bed when water runs low. No one spoke. My mouth opened, closed. No sound. The crow on the rim shifted claws. Wind stopped 1 beat. Dust fell slow, each grain flashing, then gone on ground. I stood. Mara sat by him, knees down, both hands holding cloth. Holt leaned his head back, eyes still open. Those eyes not on me, not on sky. They stopped at the cloth's edge, at the place where red had spread. The moment stretched, not long from time, long from nothing breaking in. No noise, her jaw taut. The vein ran under fabric like a dry stream. Holt closed his eyes. Not to die, not to look. His hand still on the cloth's edge. Held, loosened, held again. A rhythm strange. I could not count. I looked to ground. In dust, blood spread into shape of a knot, not perfect, but with two tails. I would remember that shape long. We stayed there a while, long enough for sun to move across the rock edge, short enough not to be dusk. I heard a stone fall, far. No one came. No one broke the still. The high point ended as it should, with silence heavy as the shots before. I swallowed the kernel. It went down. The red on the cloth stayed there. After silence, the falling stones changed rhythm, not scattered, gathered into a circle around the flat ground. I heard horses shift on the rim. One whinnied, bit the bit. The stench of powder still hung, sharp like copper on the tongue. Holt lay on his side, hands still locked on his coat's edge, eyes open but fixed on something near. I knelt, pressed my palms to ears, to still the blood hammering inside. When I let go, boots were at the rim. Mara stood tall. She lifted Holt's rifle left where he had dropped. Her hand slid over the wood, worn smooth by his sweat. She checked the bolt, did not test the trigger. Her eyes passed over me once, neither asking nor granting, only marking I was there. The first head showed over the north rim, hip scraping rock. She fired. The sound broke in two, clean as rope cut. He flipped back, skull against stone, silent. Dust fell with him, laid a thin sheet on his face. The second shifted west, behind a scarred stone like writing. Mara moved her boot an inch, no more. She fired into the gap where he would leap. The bullet came before his body. He fell crooked, hand grasped hot stone, blistered, let go. The last did not show. He circled. I heard the horses stamp. Iron hooves struck rock 3 times. Stopped, then once more, higher. Mara drew breath, set the stock to her shoulder, shifted only by her heels. When his shadow slid across the light mark on the wall, she fired. The crack bent sharp. The stone beside me shook. A pebble fell on my hand, made me flinch. No more sound outside. She did not count bodies, did not step near, did not check. She pulled Holt's spare clip from his coat, loaded, set the rifle standing against the flat stone, butt to earth. The barrel blackened with smoke. I looked down. Smell of rust and powder mixed, like blood dried too long in sun. Heel, so Holt's feet would not catch. His hand slid across the flat stone as he passed, leaving a faint streak the color of earth. I do not know why I remembered that line so clears. We came to the wide patch under the mountain shade. The shade broad, cool, eased the skin like a hand set on brow. Mara laid Holt on his side in the darkest place. She set 2 stones under his head, high enough his throat not fill with blood. She loosed his belt, pulled it aside for easier breath. Not gentle, not harsh, only right. I handed the water flask. She did not let him drink. She dipped a corner of her shirt, squeezed a few drops at his lips. He licked by reflex, then stilled. His eyes blinked slow. I saw them like a lamp lit inside a closed house, light not spilling out, only enough for the one within to know he remained. Wind passed like someone through a sick room, quick, quiet, avoiding the bed. The sun held. The mountain shielded part. The rest burned. I tore a spent letter, balled it, wedged it under Holt's stone to brace the crutch Mara made of 2 dry branches. She shook her head. Not going yet. I nodded. Not yet. The sound of insects returned, as if someone elsewhere had nodded leave. I sat a reach away from Holt. The smell of cooled sweat, of sunburned hide, of damp earth in shade. I counted his breaths to 10, then again. By the 3rd round, a voice sounded at the pass-mouth. 5 men stood in a line, not entering deep, clothes patched, wrists marked with rope scars, eyes sunk by old sun. The one in the middle broader, hair gray and ragged, beard bristled, forehead dented as if by a gunstock. He did not look at me, did not look at Mara. He looked straight at Holt, like at a debt hung through many seasons. "Your name is Holt," he said, not asked, no reply needed. He stepped half forward, enough his shadow touched Holt's. "I am Thomas Gray." The name fell dry. One of his men set down a small sack, cords inside showing, no guns pointed. The rope was enough. Mara lifted Holt part way, his back against stone. He opened his eyes, looked at Thomas. No blink, no shift, as reading a line long read. They stared across the short gap, close enough to see each other's pores. Thomas had not come to save. He came to claim. "You worked cattle for Mercer," he said. "You opened the gate for wagons at night. You knew the road through Thornwood. You knew crossing a line off debt book. No creed, no lesson. Only a thicker mark between one and the other. I understood the twist lay here, not at guns. Holt, not a stray caught among wolves, he had led part of the pack. Not right, not wrong. Only the price, waiting, long held. Mara opened a pouch taken from a dead pursuer. She drew 3 papers, folded 4, sweat-stained yellow. She did not open full, only turned one corner to show the mark in the edge, a long M, the hand of one used to signing orders. She gave them to Thomas. "He still," she said, "east side, moving through the dry mine road." Thomas read the mark. His broad hand pressed, bent the paper, sound like dry leaf. His eyes did not light, only eased a shade. He passed the paper to his man. The man shoved it inside patched coat, as if shoving a hot stone. "Keep," Mara said, her eyes not leaving Holt, "if needed." 1. No one asked, "Keep who?" All knew, keep Holt. Like keeping collateral, hung for another passage. Thomas tilted his head. He waved. 2 men went behind stone, stripped Holt's belt, cut the rifle strap from him. Not to bind, to keep him from folly while lying between choices. Holt did not beg, did not resist. His lip cracked, bled a thin line where he bit down to keep sound. Thomas stood, watched as one measuring the shadow of a tree before cut. At last he said, "We keep him until that road opens. You go if you will." The "you" was for Mara, not for me. Mara nodded. Once. She lifted the rifle, checked magazine, checked barrel, did not glance at Holt, did not tug his coat, did not promise return. She reached beneath the stone where I had seen her hide before, a roll of bandage, a large needle, a packet of powder. She placed them at Holt's feet. No look to Thomas for leave. No thanks. Set as one sets a short note for whoever can read the sign. Thomas eyed the packet, frowned as if recalling its smell. "We do not mend him for pity," he said, "for need of him to show the way." Mara did not answer. None of us needed it. It was true, and cold. The sun dropped half a span. The mountain's shadow crawled over Holt, covered him. Wind cooled my sweat. Cold. Mara bent by Holt. She pulled off his boots. Both. He did not help, did not stop. The boots heavy with old dried mud, soles worn to the right. She turned them, went east, to the fork where earth changed color. I saw her hand tremble as she adjusted the strap. Not from fear, from tired. Thomas lifted Holt cartway, set a torn coat under his back. "When you return," he said to Mara, not asking if she would, "the road will open." Mara did not promise, did not nod. She only checked her gear once more, drew from her pocket a stub of chalk, marked the stone Holt leaned on with a short line, a break in the middle. I did not know. It might be her sign. It might be for herself when she came back. She turned, did not look back. Her first step, firm. The second, half slower, as if testing if earth breathed under Holt's boots. It did not. The third passed the shadow's edge. Sun struck her neck. She did not raise a hand. I followed a span, enough my shadow touched hers a moment. Then I stopped. I heard Holt call, not a name, only a sound from throat, brittle as a shell. Mara paused half a beat, did not turn. The sound ended. She walked on. The reversal was there. At morning, she was the one held behind the door. Now she was the one walking before the shadows of all men left. The wounded, the one with rope, the one who told. I looked at Holt's boots in my bag, heavy. I carried their weight for him a while. I went into another shadow, left her alone with Sun. They, Thomas and his men, sat by Holt, not in circle, not in prayer. They checked bandage, burned the needle's tip on small flame. One opened the packet of powder, scattered it on the cut. Holt bit down, eyes closed. His hand stayed in place on his chest, where he had gripped before. Nothing there to hold. Yet his fingers curled, as if around a thing just taken. I watched the trail Mara left. Straight, not winding. Where stone rose, she stepped past, left no slip. Wind lifted dust, carried it, set it back. The road told nothing for her. None would know where she went, save those left, and the mountain's shadow behind. We stayed silent. The sun set slow as an old... The cloth did not swell. It lay still, as if chosen to be there before I came. I did not touch. My hand rested on the next post, wood damp, thin moss, smell of warm earth. I heard the barbed wire on another section hum faint when the wind turned. Below, a crushed tin can rolled once, stopped at my boot. I nudged it with my toe. It did not move. Those passing the slope looked. None stayed. They raised their eyes a beat as if weighing the cloth, then dropped and walked on. A woman carried a child, coat patched, eyes black. She glanced. The child slept, head bobbing with her steps. A man pulled a cart, both hands on rope, nails black, heels worn. He exhaled one long sound without word. Deputy Crow rode past on a gray afternoon. He wore his hat low, the broken nose casting a shadow down his cheek. The spurs scraped once. He glanced quick at the fence, eyes blurred like a man after drink. His horse slowed by itself half a beat when it drew even with the cloth, as if stepping on softer ground. Crow did not pull the rein, did not spur. He passed as a man passes a stretch he once marked, now unwilling to recall, for nothing can be done with it. I stepped closer by one pace. The fabric dry, the threads stiff as baked paper. At one corner, new stitching, clumsy, joining the torn edge with a left hand. Not the work of a seam hand. The work of one walking, afraid it would tear loose on the road. I looked at the needle marks. The point had slipped, leaving small half-moon scratches. Enough to know. It once left someone's neck, crossed stones, crossed thorn, then came to hang here. Who hung it? None said. I did not ask. The children did not come near. They kicked at each other farther off, drew games in the dust. When a kick struck, dust rose in the shape of a wing. They laughed, then looked toward the fence, went silent. One picked up a smooth stone, pocketed it, ran. I saw their shadows press against the fence shadow a moment, then split. I turned my back, walked along the rail. Hand over old hammer scars, bent nails, knife cuts of letters from one no longer near. At the corner, chalk mark, a straight line, broken in the middle. Rain had passed many times and not erased it whole. I knew from where the chalk came. No need to speak the name. Toward evening I turned again. Light slid across the cloth's edge, left a short, cold streak. A lizard ran, stopped in the cloth's shadow, tail twitching, then gone. I held a kernel in my mouth, pushed it to the other side. Teeth clicked faint. I did not touch the cloth. None dared. The wind turned on a day of low clouds. The track past the dry mine, hissed like a long rope dragged across the ground. I came late. Rubbing. The dark smear in the center, now deeper under the new dust. Little rain, much sun. The color did not fade. I stood 2 paces off. The smell of iron, of dry leaves, of old sweat leather mixed. My tongue dry as paper. I swallowed. The kernel stuck halfway, then slid. A black crow landed on the rail to the right. It tilted its head, looked at me, its eye like a wet stone. It hopped 1 step closer. Its beak tapped the cloth edge, pecked once at the dark smear. The cloth shook. Dust flew like sand rain, fell against my face. I did not rub. The crow pecked again, this time deeper. The threads split, showing the pale weave inside like fishbone. It shook its beak, pulled a long string, caught by the wind, drifted, then snagged on barb. I saw a brown fleck on its beak. It scraped with its foot, clean. I heard wagon wheels on gravel. Thomas Gray passed. No crew. Alone. Broad shoulders, hair silver and coarse, brown coat patched across the back. He did not stop. He turned his head one beat as he passed the cloth, as if checking a road mark. His eyes did not ask, did not tell. His left hand gripped the rein until knuckles white. His horse bit a bit once, spat foam, lost quick in dust. He rode on. His shadow crossed the cloth's shadow, a short beat, then split. Deputy Crow passed again by day's end. On his shoulder lay fresh dust as if from sleeping outside the saloon yard. He pulled his hat lower still. His horse leaned to the far side of the road, swung wide, as if skirting soft ground. Crow glanced. He lifted a hand as if to scratch his neck, stopped halfway, dropped it. He spat. It fell aside, struck nothing. Spurs rasped once. He went. Two young mine hands halted, one with a damp cigarette, one without. They stood 3 paces off, no word. The one with the cigarette raised his hand as if to ask fire, then lowered. Wind snuffed the match before it lit. They looked at each other, shrugged, left. After a few steps, one glanced back, only once. His shoulder dropped, lighter, as he turned away, as if leaving a thing not his. The crow hopped close. It pecked once more, then flew. Its shadow drew a curve across the ground, over old boot tracks from the day before. I saw the track, slanted right. I counted no more. All was already counted. Wind day. Then it flew. Time passed the slope like a man bent under a sack of salt, stooped, slow, without pause. I grew a little older without noting. My teeth lost taste for kernels. The mailbag weighed heavier in rains, lighter in drought. I still walked past the fence each day, the cloth still there. Men ceased speaking Holt's name. Not for forget, only because the name no longer served any use. In the saloon, sometimes one spoke of marks on the mine road, of the rope at the door, of the trap latch. They stopped before the name, like standing before a stone face too steep to climb, and not wishing to walk around. Mara did not pass this slope when I was there. Maybe she came at another hour. Maybe she turned toward another path, where the dirt road led to a pale spot I once saw on the map, hanging in the post office. No one asked me. I said nothing about the chalk mark on the stone, a straight line broken in the middle, half faded. Rain blurred the break, made it look like a small door opened and shut. Once Thomas stopped his horse, did not get down. He looked at my arms, holding a mailbag, heavier than usual. "Heavy," he said. I nodded. He nodded back, like 2 haulers nodding to each other at the docks. Then he pointed with his chin at the cloth. I gave no explanation. He asked no question. He touched his boot heel to the horse's belly, moved slow, did not turn back. Deputy Crow lost his badge on a day I wasn't there. I heard later. The reason unclear. He still rode the slope, no badge, same hat. When he reached the fence, he pulled from his pocket a small folded slip of paper, pressed it into a crack under the cloth. No one saw him do it. I only saw the paper when the wind pushed it out. 3 crooked words, ink bleeding. I did not open it. I pushed it deeper. The wood held it. The children finally came close. One stretched a finger, touched a fringe of cloth, jerked back as if burned. He laughed, showed his hand to the others. Nothing on the finger. They argued if it was blood or rust. No answer. They left a scatter of bird tracks around the post. On the windiest day, the cloth tore loose halfway. The fringe snapped. The fabric flared like an old leaf. I stepped forward, thinking it would fly. But it snagged on the barb of the next post, hanging lower. Inside turned out. The inside lighter, less dusted. Mountain. Rain fell sudden, too quick to carry the smell of soil. Water struck the cloth, dull as old well water. I wore my hat, stood under the roof of a half-collapsed shed, watching. The cloth clung to the wood like a sick forehead pressed to glass. Water ran down the dark stain, drew a thin line into the dirt. The dirt drank fast. No pool. The rain passed as quick as it came. Air cleaner, cooler after. On the fabric, the dark mark still there. It did not go. Late night, I came back once more. No moon, only insect glow at the yucca base. Dry grass hissed against itself. I stood before the fence, silent. The cloth dimmed into black upon black. I knew its place by the smell of wet fiber and by the shift of wind's rhythm passing through. I took the kernel out of my mouth, dropped it. It clicked once on the ground, then quiet. Morning after, I walked again, mailbag on the shoulder, spine sore from strap. I stopped, looked, raised my head like the rest, then silent. Not one word more, not one word less. The cloth still hung, the fence still rotted. The crow circled high, struck at emptiness, hit nothing. People passed. No one said, "Halt." But each time the slope wind shifted, the fabric swayed one beat, as if someone unseen was still breathing. I walked on, carried nothing but the taste of old iron in my throat, and a silence measured to leave the story where it belonged. At the end of the slope, only the gray cloth draped on the fence. No one touched it. The wind touched instead. Cloth, once covered, then bound, now left behind. Holt's name gone from passing mouths. Mara walked toward another light. What remained was the taste of old iron in the throat and a silence enough. Healing is no reward. It is quiet work. To choose standing once. To choose leaving once. Then let the weight stay where it belongs. If that cloth stirs anything in you about what you are covering, binding, or should leave behind, leave a short thought under the video. One line is enough. The rest, let the wind speak.